I think this is the last top tier I need to yap about. Ramlethal has been a meta character since her existence. She has been that good since near the launch of the game. Being a strong character from day one to Strive 2.0. She's had her hiccups here and there when it comes to being a meta, but for the most part, she's definitely represented in every type of meta we've had. She's meant to be an aggressive character that pokes you down and bullies you until you eventually get into the corner, and then she'll keep up the pressure until you eventually break, and then you turn into dust and not diamonds. Using her swords to get in, either through poking or tossing them for a one-use thing until she either gets a wall break or she waits long enough until they're back. The sword is a one and done type of resource, and that sword will give her so much leniency to do so much of it. So with a quick breakdown told to you, let's get into the nitty and gritty. What makes her so top tier in the patch of 2.0. I think the first thing you need to cover, no matter the character when it comes to being a top tier, is the poking game. A lot of her pokes are probably some of the best pokes in the game. First slash that covers an insane amount of range but comes out in 12 frames, making it a bit of a rough round start tool, but besides that it can do so much more. And then 5H covering even more range for a little bit extra added on frames on the startup. GS being one of the air tools, and even a jump in tool or a retreating tool. Hell, it does it all, it's that good. She kinda has a button for every range, and a lot of her tools are insanely good at covering space. Let's say she needs to cover space quickly. Oh my god, does she have tools for that? She has jumping punch, which covers that space insanely quickly as it comes out in an insane amount of time. I think it's 5 frames, it's very quick. And she has one of the fastest XPs in the game, coming out in 9 frames, being active for 5. It means that she's either anti-airing you or catching you for a poke, it's that quick. It won't lead to much reward on normal hit, but being able to use this tool as a quick get off me to get back to your very good neutral is definitely a positive. And her 5k is without a doubt one of the best 5ks in the game. It's all about space with her, she covers it so damn well with this 5k, and it comes out in 7 frames and is active for free. Either she's covering this space very well because she's got good range, or she's covering it very quickly because she's got that fast startup. So point being, normals are good because of range and speeds. That's about it. That is how she dominates neutral, because she's either fast enough or she's got the reach for it. With these normals, she's able to dominate neutral, but what's very interesting about them is the fact she doesn't care about matchups 9 times out of 10. In the button-to-button interaction, she's likely to win in that neutral. There's a few matchups where it can mess her up, but 9 times out of 10, she's fine. She isn't going to feel any form of pain in a poking game. And that led to the specials, what made it feel even more brutal. For example, the rock is nothing insane, it genuinely isn't, but what it does is it gives Ram a very safe cancel, a very safe cancel to go into. It's not plus, I think it's -2, but being able to do /5H into the rock, or maybe a button into rock, JS into rock, it's a very safe tool to use. The only way to deal with it is for the player to be awake at the wheel and essentially poke her before it comes out, or block it and then try to take a turn. But keep in mind, you're -2, it probably a very far screen space. If she has a 12 frame /, it adds up. Let's say she's got a bar meter and she wants to wait again. She's got 2 easy ways to do just that. The window wipers, which will just do so much for her in terms of reach. It covers a large amount of screen space and is able to allow her to get started with an RC. However, one of the issues are super menace. So this is a tool that you only use when you've got meter, and if you manage to hit with it and you've got meter, this does an absurd amount of damage. Not a good tool for the most part, but with meter this becomes one of the best tools. And mix that with her flip move, which is -10. When you've got meter, it's just a safe tool to use to get in, as it's very tough to react to on the moment. And then you've got the swords, Bayoneto. Now the swords are by far one of the nastiest things about her toolkit. Like we mentioned before, it's a one-time use, so when she uses it, she has to wait a bit or break you through the wall to gain access to them again. However, for the one-time use, their strengths are pretty good. If she aims it down with S sword or uses the forward sword, both of them are +21 on block. And it leaves no room for the defender to do anything. Being plus double digits usually means you need to take the turn. This just happens, you need to accept it. It's the same with Garuda, for example. You have to just take the turn. But the interesting thing is that S-Sword did get heavily nerfed. Whenever she sends it down, it causes the opponent to just take the hard knockdown and no longer pops them up for a combo. Which, despite this nerf, is still one of our best tools, as it covers a fantastic angle and can be used in mid-screen or the corner. It'll do wonders. But this enhances our bully game plan, because as soon as she gets the corner, sends a sword plus 21, she also has the sword explosion on both swords. This allows her to go for so many mix-up things, for example high-low or delayed throw or something like that, and then she has the explosion to cover a mistake. The only time she could really be punished for using a sword incorrectly is if she uses both swords and you use burst to get her off, because it's more than likely once she's used both swords that she'll use a roaming cancel to cover an option afterwards to delay for her swords. If you burst her, her swords aren't available, she can't use her meter, and just like you're both in neutral and you're able to poke against a character that's lost that poking strength. But besides that, it's a pretty riskless game plan. Her corner pressure mixed with all this is genuinely amazing. She's going to catch you asleep many a times, and she's going to be able to go hog wild with all of her options. She's brutal to deal with on block, able to loop that pressure more and more and more, but what makes her scary is that if she gets the right hit, the damage is very high. She's not a low damage character. There's instances where she can look like a low damage character, but 9 times out of 10 you're going to see about high level damage, and then you're going to see absurd damage on the occasion hit. And then mix that with her defense, it makes it very hard to actually open her up once you eventually get a turn. As her 5k, as we mentioned before, is one of the best 5ks, there's no arguing it, coming in 7 frames, it's very quick and covers a good amount of space, so she doesn't fall to spacing traps that often. And on block, not that menace. And then mix that with her super, it's just one of the best supers when it comes to speed and an invul get off me tool. It's up there next to Jams in terms of reach, but in terms of speed, it's Ram's. It's so damn good. Everything that I've mentioned, I think kind of leads into one thing that makes Ram so good in this patch. She doesn't really take many risks. Like, there's hardly any risk in her game plan. Looking at all of it, it's like either all of her normals push you back so far enough that you can't really do anything if they are minus. If they are blocked, most of them that she doesn't care about are like -2, -3, -4, like the sweep. A lot of her frame data is pretty good. If she makes you block a normal she doesn't like, she can cancel into something to call you out, like the sword toss being plus 20, or the rock just for a good check -2 scenario. She doesn't really leave herself open for risk. Look at some of the other top tiers right now. Like, let's think about their risk game plan. Nagoriyuki, despite being insanely high in damage and an insanely good neutral poker, probably better than Ram, he does leave the risk of not managing his resource correctly, and he still has to go for strike throw to make sure his management of the resource is fine. If you guess a Nagoriyuki throw, you can kill him for it. Whereas Ram's normal throw can be covered by a sword explosion. Potemkin, another top tier without a doubt, has the risk of strike throw. Don't get me wrong, Potemkin and a lot of other avenues doesn't really take many risks, but if he has you in the corner and you jump his throw, you got him. That's it. That's it. You've got your turn and you bully him. The only other top tier that I don't think takes as many risks is probably Leo Whitefang. That's why I'm kinda in the boat where it's between them two for my top 1, because they're pretty consistent and the risks they take aren't many. The only risk that Leo takes is his flash kick, and for Ram, it's anything that will match these two criteria. If she's in a situation without a sword and without meter, that's the only time she's taking risks. The only way to beat Ram is to be preemptive. You need to guess when she's doing a sword toss. You need to guess when she's doing a rock. You need to do a preemptive jump on her pokes. You need to make a guess on the throw, but correctly, because the explosion is still there. A Ramlethal can play insanely safe and probably do well to a certain degree where they need to eventually use BS to open up an opponent, and that is why I think she's a top tier. When it comes to results, I don't even need to say anything, do I? Red Death was one of the best players on this character and potentially one of the best players in the world. And we got to see all 3 of these top tiers at EVO, being Nagoriyuki and of course Leo and Ramlethal basically in the top 3. Kind of proved my point of why I think they're a top tier, because they're all insanely strong, do high damage and don't take many risks. But credit where credit's due, those players can play the game to such a high degree that I love commentating, I'll tell you that much. If I had to pick my top 1, I would probably say Leo Whitefang, but Ram would not be that far behind them. That's going to be it for today's video. If you guys enjoyed, be sure to like, hype, sub, and tell me what you think about Ram. Do you think I'm talking a whole lot of shit, or do you agree with my viewpoints on her strengths? I'll catch you guys in the next one. See ya!